So beyond oil, very important subject today globally and in particular in Saudi. Tourism has always been a very important economic sector. It represented over 10% of global GDP. It does represent over 10%. And when I first arrived in Saudi Arabia at the beginning of 18, it represented around 3.4%. I think we've doubled the contribution tourism makes towards the economy. It's up around 7% today. And so that means we still have room to get to the 10% global average. I think we could possibly even go beyond that. The tourism aspect of this is not just simply building hotels and attracting more visitors. It's about opening up the country. It's a societal change that is taking place under the leadership of His Royal Highness in his Vision 2030 agenda. And we're a big part of that, and we're delighted to do so.
Yeah, and just how do you fit in as Red Sea Global Group? How do you fit into this sort of reshaping of the kingdom's identity?
Well, I'm proud to say we were born out of Vision 2030. We were one of the first of the 3 giga projects that were announced. We had NEOM, we had Qiddiya, and then Red Sea.
Just can you explain what the giga projects are for people listening, watching, who may not understand?
So people have heard of mega projects. Saudi does things on a much bigger scale. So a giga project really is a term to try to capture the scale and of the ambition of what we're trying to do. And so there were 3 that were announced back in 2017. One of them was NEOM, which I think you heard the previous panel talk about. Qiddiya, which is an entertainment city near Riyadh. And then the Red Sea, which was a tourism destination. And a tourism destination that was going to do things differently. You know, to really differentiate ourselves from other destinations in the world. And that was an important aspect of the vision, to really drive a different paradigm as to how you develop tourism projects.
So when you think about tourism and big names, you think of the Maldives, you think of the Mediterranean. I went to Zanzibar on my honeymoon. But you're looking at regenerative tourism. Can you explain to us what that actually means, and why would people want to go to Saudi Arabia to be part of this type of tourism?
Well, so I think when we first started, we thought we were going to set new standards in sustainable development. And the more I reflected on it, and I actually had to look up sustainability. What does it actually mean? And sustainability means maintaining the status quo. And if you think about it, we're way past that point. We need to do things to go beyond sustainability. And the term regenerative development, regenerative tourism was born out of that. And what it means in practice is to actually try to make the destination better. When we started our planning for the destination, and I have an archipelago of 90 islands across 2,500 square kilometers of lagoon area, we had an abundance of choice. But what we said was, you know, we were inspired by nature, but we were led by science. We did a lot of scientific background work, baseline surveys, etc., to figure out where to develop and where not to develop. And, you know, we made choices that were led by nature, not by commercial. So I had a beautiful island I could have developed, and we chose not to develop it in the end because it was a favored nesting site of a critically endangered species, the hawksbill sea turtle. So it's making choices that put nature at the forefront. And I often say that nature is our most valuable asset, and I think the UN is now starting to recognize that too.
Just to let you know, audience, you can ask questions on the app slide. There's also a QR code. You can go on and just click on it and ask any questions that you may have of John. So, as you said there, a lot of people do talk about climate and sustainability. A lot of businesses here talk about it. But what does it actually mean practically on the ground? Because you are building these cutting-edge hotels, but you're trying to also think about being sensitive to your environment too.
No, without a doubt. Again, sustainability, regeneration, forefront of everything that we do and guides our thinking. So let me give you some things that are practical examples. So it's not just paying lip service or greenwashing, as some people might say. We've built the largest tourism destination in the world to date, 100% powered by the sun 24 hours a day. Now, we're not innovating, we're not doing something that doesn't exist, but nobody has had the will to do it on this scale. Power by sun, batteries to store it by day so that we can consume that power at night. We're seeking to enhance our habitats. We're growing 50 million mangrove trees. Mangroves are an amazing plant. They not only protect the islands from erosion and sea level rise, they sequester carbon at a multiple of the same area that a tree would. So trees on land would sequester 1 unit. Mangroves will sequester anywhere between 4 and 10 times that. So they're very good from a carbon sequestration point of view. Corals. We're blessed with thriving coral reefs in the Red Sea. Yet they're under risk and threat. We're not taking any chances, so we're investing heavily on growing coral. We have our own coral generation labs. We grow through fragmentation, through recreating the spawning cycle that corals do on an annual basis. We can do it multiple times throughout the year. So it's taking all of these necessary steps to protect our future. It's also building responsibly. When we build, we take every precaution that you can. So, for example, if we're in the islands and working in and around the sea, we have monitoring buoys that are monitoring the parameters in the sea. If we see turbidity level getting too high, we stop the works so that we don't create any issues with regards to the marine life.
So we do have some questions from the audience. Before we go to those questions, I wanted to ask you, okay, when I look at your resorts, I think luxury, I think actually beyond my paycheck at least. But how are you going to then attract enough tourists to sort of boost what you're saying, which is this kind of moving away from oil for Saudi Arabia?
So I think, and again, apologies, we opened up our most expensive resorts first, but that's not the end game. We've opened up our hyper-luxury resorts, which represents only a mere 10% of the total numbers of resorts that we're opening. We have 27 hotels and resorts that are being developed, 10 of which are now open. When we open up the remaining hotels, which are happening between now and the early part of next year, we broaden our spectrum to an entry level of, $500 room nights, which is still expensive, but